So you would like to know how to mix tile adhesive or Thinset to make mosaics. Well, you're in the right place. I'm Helen Miles and I'm going to teach you all the tips and tricks you need to make mosaics. The first thing you need to know is that tile adhesive and Thinset are the same thing. In the UK we call it tile adhesive, in the US and other parts of the world it's called Thinset, which can be a little confusing, but I can banish that confusion here and now by making it clear they're just different names for the same thing. So let's look at the things you need to mix tile adhesive. The first thing is a dust mask. Everyone has one of these nowadays. This is absolutely essential and not something to skip. Tile adhesive is cement based, and when it's dry it consists of a fine powder and the particles linger in the air. These particles will get into your lungs if you don't wear a mask, so wear one. Also, if you possibly can, try and mix your adhesive outdoors or in a well-ventilated area. Even if you stand on the doorstep for a minute or two, that will be fine. First and foremost, you have to be aware that mixing tile adhesive is a messy business. So make sure your surfaces and the floor under where you're working is covered with protective sheets. You can use anything as long as it doesn't matter if it gets dirty. So this is just an old piece of plastic. This is the tile adhesive or Thinset that I use. It's called BAL. This is the tile adhesive or Thinset that I use. It's called BAL Max Flex Fibre, as you can see. And unfortunately, it only comes in 20 kilogram bags, and I think it's just white and grey. But it is wonderful stuff. So it is frost-proof. It is suitable for indoors and outdoors, and it's highly flexible. There are various alternatives. I think Mappy and Latacrete do very good alternatives. So when you're looking for a tile adhesive or Thinset, just check its properties. So if you do buy one of those big bags of tile adhesive, I would recommend that you also get a box to keep it in, just because it makes, first of all, it protects it from moisture in the air, and it makes it much easier to take out as much as you need for each project. I also have a smaller box where I've decanted some of the tile adhesive, which I just keep on my desk for whenever I need it. Next, you need a container to mix the tile adhesive. Obviously, the more adhesive you're making for your project, the bigger your container will need to be. But generally, an old yogurt pot or a peanut butter pot like this one is absolutely fine. You can also get these nice bowl-shaped flexible tubs from Mosaic suppliers, which make ideal containers for mixing tile adhesive. You will also need an old spoon or a spatula to measure out the tile adhesive, and a water container, preferably with a spout, to add the water to the adhesive. The adhesive generally comes in white or grey. So if you want to change the colour, you will also need a pigment to add in. This is the one I use. It's a black mortar tone, but you can buy all kinds of pigments of different colours if you want to experiment. I generally use 3 heaped tablespoons of adhesive for about 2 hours of work. But of course it depends how fast you work and how thick you want the adhesive to be. As a general rule, you want your pieces or your tesserae to be firmly embedded into the adhesive. At least 2/3 of the tesserae should be embedded. So look at your thickest pieces and judge how thick you need the adhesive to be, and then measure it out accordingly. You also need to think about the environment in which you're working. The warmer it is, the faster the adhesive will dry. So you might want to have a water spritzer nearby to keep the adhesive moist. And you also might want to work with smaller quantities and keep making fresh adhesive as you go. So now you want to add the water slowly. I'm going to just add, let's say, 3 tablespoons of water and mix it up. So what you're aiming for is a peanut butter-like paste. So rather surprisingly, this has turned out to be absolutely spot on. So normally I would be adding little bits of, just drops of water to get the right consistency. But you can see that it hasn't got a layer of moisture on the top. It's thick, but still malleable. So I'm giving it a good mix. And then when I've mixed it all up, I'm going to leave it to slake, which is basically just leave it to sit for 5 minutes. So if you do decide to add a pigment, you just add it in small amounts. I would say that's 2 heaped teaspoons at the beginning. And, oops, there's something in there that shouldn't be. Hello, what's that? No, that's just nothing. Okay. And just stir it in. And take a look at the colour. So that's come up with a kind of mid, kind of cementy grey. And obviously you just keep adding more pigment depending on what colour you're looking for. And if you want to replicate that colour, make sure that you keep a record of how much pigment you've added to how much tile adhesive, so you get the right recipe next time. So there you have a nice Thinset adhesive for your mosaics. Before I go, I want to remind you that you must never, ever, 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 under any circumstances, put tile adhesive down the drains. I clean my bowl and my tools with newspaper, running it round and round the bowl until it's mostly clean, and then I use damp kitchen roll to get rid of the residue, and then that just goes straight in the bin. So there you have it. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, then please subscribe below.